Good people. First and foremost, what we're going to do is have you guys confirm two things. You can hear me and you can see me and Kenyon. So if you guys can do that really quick, we will appreciate it. Trying something different as far as the streaming format, man, so I can use the same software I normally use and use the other software to show both Kenyon and I seamlessly. So hopefully it's working. Okay, you guys said yes, sir. All right, great. So let's do the normal introductions, man. Welcome to the latest episode of what is this? Terrible Towel Tuesday. See, I was about to say post game. See how much I missed the season? Terrible Towel Tuesday, man. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, live from the Steel basement, but no virtual Heinz Field this time. I'm just using the background of the room. And I got my good brother Kenyon in the building, so y'all already know it is SteelTable time. And before Kenyon jumps in, let's really quick just say hello to the early commenters like we always do, but I'm going to be brief because we got a lot to cover. So I'm just going to say a few names. Rajon39, Jim Inman, Joshua Shields, Ron Simpson, Mr. ABS, Kaja Bonso or Monso. I think that B is silent. Let me know how to pronounce that. Luis D, Daredevil, Brother Mark 1992. Hello, the real Missy. Welcome, Miss Lady. Appreciate you coming through. I see another fine lady of the crew, man. Lanisha in the building. What's up, Lanisha? How you doing? Thank you for coming through. Builder's Life, Darren Covington, Cody Yo, Stillmatic. Let's see if any of the other ladies in here. Let's get them. And you fellas, y'all don't care if I say hi to y'all, right? Let's see. Miss Debbie. There go Miss Debbie in the building. You know we got to say hello to Debbie. Thank you for coming through. And we'll wrap it up right about there. Oh, Sade. Miss Sade in the building as well. Hello, Sade. Thank you for coming through. And I see a few extended family members as well. Why Diggy in the building like always. But all right, guys, let's not waste time. We got a long one, Kenyon. A lot of stuff to talk about. I guess say hello to the people to make sure they can hear you. They should be able to, but just to make sure.
How's everybody doing? Let's get to it. It's 2022. Let's wrap up the season and move on.
There it is. And you guys can hear him okay, right? Let me know. Make sure his volume is okay. So we'll wait a few seconds. How was Kenyon's volume, guys? If I need to, I can turn it up. I think it sounded good to me, but obviously it's going to sound different to me than it does with you guys in the stream. So if y'all can confirm that one last thing, we're going to dive right into it. In the meantime, I'll let you guys know what most of the topics are going to be. Y'all saw who's in the thumbnail, right? Oh, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to Mike Tomlin and defense and how much I used to blame Butler, how much credit I gave Butler when the defense got better, how much credit I gave Mike Tomlin when we were under the impression that he was calling the defense. And the same criticism that applies to Butler will apply to Tomlin now. But we'll get to it. I'm going to wait till most of you guys are here for that because I know as people, y'all probably just been sitting on it. Man, I can't wait to get on Sim. He always talk about Butler. Some of y'all even went racial on me. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? I bet you if it was, we'll see. I'm going to keep the same energy. But anyway, we're going to talk about that for sure. We'll talk about the retirement of Keith Butler and also the next defensive coordinator. I got an interesting opinion on that one, Kenyon, man, that I will explain. And then again, Tomlin calling the defense. The reports coming out, these are just reports, but they're saying that Art Rooney II could possibly override Tomlin's decision to retain Canada. And most importantly, we're going to recap the 2021 season the best we can. Talk a little bit about life after Ben Roethlisberger. And my newfound re-interest in Sam Howell. So hopefully we'll get to all of that. But let me check real quick in the chat. How was Kenyon's volume, folks? Nobody said anything, so I guess it was okay. But all right, Kenyon, I guess, man, while we allow a few more people to get up in here and we can test our audio and all of that, let's just do a non-Steeler thing real quick. Because we didn't really talk about this. We text about it. Man, first of all, how you feel about the Saints situation with Sean Payton stepping away? But outside of that, what are they going to do with that cap? I saw some stuff on Twitter, man, that's interesting. You know, one of the guys from Steelers Depot, Daniel, was saying, hey, man, this might be a good time to target some of their marquee talent. They got to get under the cap. Possibly, but man, how you feel about that? That's a lot of cap space they gotta unfortunately deal with.
Yeah, that's a big burden. I think Sean Payton knew how big the situation that we're in, and I think that could have influenced his decision to step away. What they're saying, they said people knew that Sean Payton was thinking about stepping away last year. So, I mean, if you look at the team, he doesn't have the tie that he had before, which would be, Drew Brees retiring, and he doesn't have that tie. I mean, it's kind of similar to like Tomlin and Roethlisberger, I guess you could say. But the difference is that Tomlin seems to be excited about the next guy that, he kind of wants that challenge. Sean Payton, I think he'll sit out a year, probably do TB, make like $20 million, and then pop back into that 22, 23 market, and got a feeling he'll end up somewhere in a state that is very hot and has a lot of entitled fans that haven't won a Super Bowl in a long time. But I have a feeling that that's where he may end up because I don't think that Jerry Jones is very happy with their current situation. So, and he's an owner that will make a change off of impulse. So that's how I look at it. That's just from the outside looking in, I just feel like that's where he's going to end up. So that's it. I don't.
Yeah. That would be interesting, man, because I forgot that they had some ties. Yeah, man, look, I don't even know, how do you get that far above the cap? Like, goodness gracious. I mean, they said 71 million, and I think Kenyon saw somewhere else 77.
77.8.
Oh my word. Like, and yeah, listen, I'm not mad at, can we target one of the linemen or somebody? Does it make sense to do something like that? I mean, it's early to think that way, but if I'm the Saints, might as well blow it up. You got a new coach coming in there. I wonder who takes the job. Who knows? Is it a Flores or somebody who knows who might get the job or who wants it? That's a tough situation right there. But
right. Is it a desirable situation? I mean, if you look at their team and some of the moves that they will have to make, as I told you, I texted you earlier, I was like, the Saints and the Rams are in the same situation. Except the Rams are essentially going all in to try to win it this year. But the Rams are in cap hell also. Excuse my French, but they are. They're going to be in it the next year. Yeah. And they don't have any draft picks. And it's going to be really tough. You know what I mean? When you push all your chips to the table like that, if you don't win it, that's a massive failure to what you're trying to do. So for me, I just, I kind of look at it like, is the Saints' job desirable for somebody to go there? From what I'm hearing, they might hire within. They might take the assistant, so they might do that and just and I know we've inquired about interviewing their defensive coordinator, Chris Richard, and I told you about that. He's a Pete Carroll guy. He was at USC. He was DB's coach. Went to Seattle with Pete. Ended up at Dallas, and he was like a hot name to get a head coaching job, but he never got it. And so it's going to be interesting to see what the Saints do. I don't know what players I would really want from them. I'm trying to think of who on their team I would like to have, and who are they willing to cut bait with? Because if they're rebuilding, you got to keep some pieces when you rebuild. So it just depends on who they keep. I know they're going to keep their Pro Bowl defensive lineman. They're not getting rid of him. But everybody else might be on the board. It's even Keyshawn's nephew might be on the board, and he didn't really play this year. But but the problem is what will the Saints be willing to? How would that look? Yeah. So to me, it's just an interesting. It's going to be an interesting offseason for them, as well as us. So, I wish them luck, but
Kenyon. So it sounds like indirectly, you're telling me not to re-up Deontay, who I like at times, and replace him with Michael Thomas. Woo!
Look,
I don't know if I can complain about that. I'm just saying.
Man. I tell people that ask me the question. People ask me the question, thought I was crazy. They said, "Would I trade certain people on my offense?" And I'm like, some of those people could go, because I feel like my personal opinion is that there are people that are in this draft or in free agency that could do what they do and do it better. So, if anything that you learned from this weekend, from those games that you saw this weekend, if there's anything that you learned, the difference between Buffalo, the Chiefs, and the Steelers, if you just look at personnel, the one thing that sticks out to you and it just hits you immediately is that the Chiefs have speed. They can kill you with speed. And speed kills, and Buffalo has speed. They can kill you. They have people that you need. Gabriel Davis came out of nowhere. He was killing. Yeah. So speed kills. And if you look at our roster and you look at our receiving core, I like Deontay Johnson. Is Deontay Johnson fast, or is he just quick? I'm asking a question. Is Chase Claypool fast, or is he just?
You know what's crazy? Deontay, and you guys really watch the tape, man. He plays faster than Chase Claypool, and Claypool is supposed to be faster, in a straight line. But Deontay is absolutely faster than Claypool, like in game. So, yeah. So, when people ask me that question, I answered the question. Somebody asked me and I told them how I felt. And, I like Claypool, but, if you run a 4.4 in the combine, but you're basically playing because when you watch him play, he looks like he's playing like 4.6. And every ball for Claypool has to be a contested catch. Like, that's every ball that he gets. It's a contested catch. He has to jump up. He doesn't play 6'4", and I think that's a concern. Can he grow? He's in the second year, so I can't really say I'm out on him. But, as I told you, I was like, there are receivers in this draft that are tall as him, that do what he does and do it better than him now. So it's, I just look at how players are progressing most of the time before I make a decision. I give him 3 years, and next year will be his third year. So we'll see with Claypool. But if you ask me, and Deontay, to me, is like a slower version of Santonio Holmes. Like, when I watch him play, that's what I see. Yeah.
When I watch Deontay play, I was like, that's Santonio Holmes, except he's not as fast as Santonio was. Because Santonio had like a little bit, another gear. He had like another gear that he can get away from you. And that's what I see from Deontay. And the drops are a concern, because they were gone for the whole year and then they just came back. And to me, that's
rapidly too.
Rapidly. And that's a tell. So, those two guys, and then Raymond McLeod, I mean, I like his heart and he plays tough, but I mean, he's just, I hate to say that, he might be just another guy. And then depending on what you do with Juju, because I'm already thinking James Washington is gone, and depending on what you do with somebody like Juju, if you re-sign him or not re-sign him, my perfect scenario, if it was me, would be I would probably trade Claypool, and I would probably re-sign Juju. I would probably draft, I said this in the chat, I would draft a receiver in the first round, and I know who I would get. Because if I'm gonna lose Claypool, I know who I'm targeting. And then I would draft another receiver like later, like in the 4th or 5th, because there'd be other options. You can get a speed guy then later, and I would do that. But it's I know who I would replace Claypool with, because I know if I'm gonna get a guy that's gonna play like that, I'm gonna get a guy that I know is gonna win in those situations. And I tell people earlier, I was like, next year around this time, when you're watching that kid out of USC beasting people all the way down the field, and you guys say, "Hey man, I told you early. I said he's better than Juju coming out of college. He's better than any USC receiver I've seen since Keyshawn Johnson." And that's a big statement. Or maybe I would say Robert Woods, who was great at USC. But I would probably say he's that good. And so it's that's the guy I would take. And somebody's going to take him, because mock drafts have him going to Kansas City. I'm like, imagine him in Kansas City's offense.
Oh, Lord, no. Man.
Imagine him in Kansas City's offense.
Man, come on.
I don't even want to see that.
I'm not mad at that scenario, though. I know some people, will, and actually, I'm going to get to the donations here in 2 seconds, guys. I got y'all. Some people get mad. They get these attachments to players, right? And no, this guy. Right. But kind of guys, and I know y'all hate when we compare things to Big Bad Bill in New England, but you kind of got to have that mentality a little bit as a GM. We always say Bill Belichick knew when to get rid of people, right? And acquire more talent, or trade somebody, or cut somebody you didn't expect. And that's a Bill Belichick move right there. Trading a guy like Claypool right now, where he still is attractive to somebody. And I'm not mad at that. I like Claypool, but what Kenyon is saying, if just think about it from a business GM standpoint. Juju is your veteran. Hard-nosed, tough-nosed dude. That is your Steeler of the wide receiver crew. There's no doubt about it. Re-sign him. Draft a kid. Maybe you figure out something. I heard somebody say with Deontay, they was like, they would re-sign him, but maybe not a long term. Like maybe like I can't remember who said it. Might have been Arthur Motes in them. It was somebody I was watching, and they were saying, maybe you do like a 2-year prove it type of thing, where you give him decent money, but not number one receiver money. And I wouldn't be opposed to that. Right. And yeah, you know what? I ain't mad at that. I'm not mad at trading a Claypool or somebody like that to get some real value back.
And I want everybody to understand, I like Claypool. This is not like a thing where I don't want him on my team. I like him. I would love him on my team. But if you're asking me if I had to make a move, which guy would I keep? I would keep Juju because of Juju's versatility. And I know that Juju is a slot. Like, I already know I can put him in as a slot guy because Deontay's not really a slot. And I could put Juju over there. And if I get another big receiver, as an example, like a Drake London, if I got somebody like that, then he would be Claypool, except he's a better version of Claypool because he does what Claypool does, except he doesn't, like those combat catches. And then I'll tell you guys to watch tape. It's hard for me to explain to you to watch the tape, and Sim knows this. I've watched games, and Sim has actually watched a USC game because we were texting back and forth. And if you watch him, he just beats people. And I want you to understand something. He had 800 yards receiving. He only played 6 games. He got hurt. So I want you to think about that in a game when you're doing to people. So he's special. He's special. He's really a special guy. And there are special receivers in this draft. Treylon Banks from Arkansas is special. The kid out of Penn State, Jahan Dotson, love him. Speed, love that dude. Kind of reminds you of Emmanuel Sanders. You know what I mean? Like a little bit, that type of receiver. But always, fast, real fast guy. Scat, can move. But I'm thinking if you lose a Claypool, you got to get another big receiver, and then you can get a speed receiver later on in that draft because there's a kid out of Nevada, there's a kid out of Boise State that's fast. There's a lot of kids that you can get later on in the draft to fill the speed need. I was just using. If somebody asked me the question, I'm just giving this suggestion. It's not going to happen. But if I was a GM and me and Sim was running Pittsburgh, that's what I'll be telling Mr. Rooney that every day. Like I'll be like, yo man, look, I like Claypool, but
Yeah.
It's value.
It's
It's value. He's
business.
still on his rookie deal. It's value. So
And that makes him attractive to somebody else, you know,
it just does.
it's cheap. And I mean, he got untapped potential, in my opinion. So yeah, you know, we'll see. Real quick, guys, round of applause, man, to see Antoine Hill and Shadow Slayer for the donations. Shadow Slayer, well, actually, hold on. See, Antoine Hill says, "What's up to my Aries brothers? Just thought I would step in before I get to work, or get back to work, rather. Appreciate that, see, Antoine Hill. You know Aries, man. We always representing. Steelers. Why did I say Shadow Slayer? Is that the same person that says Steelers Slayer? Maybe he changed his name. But I know there used to be a Shadow Slayer.
Right, that's Shadow Slayer.
Right,
he was in the
that's
chat. He was in the chat.
All right. Well, this one says Steelers Slayer. I think it's the same person, but anyway, if it's not, thank you to Steelers Slayer. It says, my question is, do you think Omar Khan will be the GM for the Steelers? And I watched the Ike Taylor podcast, and he said he wasn't a Vic Fangio. No, he wants Vic Fangio to be the DC because he runs a 3-4. I don't know. You know, if Kenya wants to elaborate on it as far as Omar Khan, but like I told you guys, I don't really. That's the one area that I probably lack in. I don't really know who the GM competition is. You know, obviously I know Omar Khan because he's in house, but you know, maybe is Colbert really retiring?
Right.
Possibly. I mean, but who knows? You know, maybe he's on a year to year. Maybe he wants to give it a swing one more time and see maybe what they could do with a new rebuild or whatever. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But I would say maybe because the Steelers are likely to hire inside, it might be him or Hunt. But I think Khan is interviewing with other teams. So I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go. And as far as Vic Fangio, man, actually we can go right into that, Kenyon, because that'll take us into the next. We'll talk about the defensive coordinator stuff really quick because I have a comment on that. That's cool. But like the comment that I'm going to say, you'll see why I'm not really answering it that way. Because later on we're going to talk about what we've heard about Mike Tomlin calling the shots. So I'll just say this. I'll say no. If Tomlin is still, if he's really calling the plays and has been, it's going to be a guy that's cool with that.
Right.
I don't see a Fangio being that type of guy, you know. So that's my 2 cents. But I don't know if you want to add anything to it, Kenya.
Yeah, I mean the GM thing right now at this point is speculation. It was Steelers Slayer, so it's 2 different people. So I guess.
Okay, cool.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, right now it's speculation. Until Colbert officially says I'm done, it doesn't matter. I think Omar Khan is interviewing with other people. I guess from a draft pick standpoint, if you lose Omar Khan, you get 2 third-round compensatory picks. And I guess if I was looking at it from that way, yeah, leave. You know what I mean? Because I want my picks. But you know, at this point, it doesn't. You know, Omar Khan is a numbers guy. Brandon Hunt is taking the same path as Colbert. He's a scout guy that's been essentially being mentored by Colbert. He works under Colbert. So to me, he would be the logical person that you rise up because I think they're grooming him to be the next GM. Or you could do it where it's co-GM, where you can have Omar and Brandon essentially do 2 jobs and then combine, and if they can work together, that works. But the most important piece of that transition is how do they work with Tomlin? That's the only thing that really matters. I mean, in this scenario, like, do they work well with Tomlin, and will Tomlin like working with them? And that tells you everything you need to know. So the Steelers have 2 viable candidates. I believe they both can do the job, and I think Omar Khan, I believe he deserves a shot. But you know how it works. Everybody doesn't get their chance. He's interviewing, and that's cool. But we'll see in the end what happens. And at this point, it's all speculation. So I don't want to get too deep because we don't know what's really going on yet. So, I'll be cool with either one of them. My personal, I would probably take Hunt because he's the guy he's the guy that will go out and actually scout and look for players, and that's what he does now. And I think he has his ear to the streets more so than maybe Omar would. But I'm pretty sure I've never seen Omar at the Senior Bowl. I've never seen Omar at the Combine. I've seen Brandon Hunt, at these places all the time. So, as long as you can evaluate talent, that's good. So, right now it's all speculation, but we'll see.
Yep. And real quick, guys, like I said, I want to save the whole Tomlin calling the defense for like the latter part of the show because I want to make sure most of the viewers are here for that so y'all can hear my real thoughts. But let's talk about the defensive coordinator. Obviously now we know Keith Butler is planning to retire. And the question is, everyone wants to know who's going to be the next DC. And like I said, to me, it's going to depend on whether or not Tomlin really is calling the plays. Keith Butler said as much. And, what personality would fit that. But one thing I wanted to say real quick, Kenyon, into the chat. So we heard that the Steelers have requested to speak with Pat Graham, DC from the Giants. Also, Ricard for New Orleans. Here's my question. And I forgot about this, man, until I started hearing more people talk about, the hiring process and the mandate now. You guys realize both of those guys are minority candidates, right?
Yep.
I really hope that they're not being brought in just for that quota. Again, that's not Tomlin's fault if that's the case. That's the Rooney rule, right? That's the GM and those who own the team have to abide by that. That's not head coach, in my opinion. I don't know, head coach maybe, but and the reason why I say that, guys, is for one, with those brothers being minority candidates, I just hate for some of these people that have to get to run around because of that. And for two, I hope that we're actually looking for a DC. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would hate to hear that those are the only two candidates, and then we find out, well, obviously that's the reason why they brought them in, so the team can say they interviewed two minority. So I got mixed feelings about that. I'm really hoping that maybe somebody else interviews, even if it's another minority person. I just don't want it to be the 2 minimum quota. I just hope it's not that obvious. Why I said it's not a slight to Tomlin. I mean, obviously, Tomlin is a minority head coach. If I'm not mistaken, he might be the only one right now. He has minorities on his staff. So it's not a Tomlin thing. It's not like I would be mad at him because obviously he ain't trying to slight nobody. I just would be a little upset with the Steelers as a whole if you're doing the whole token thing. I don't like that, right? Because these two dudes are good. We, like Kenyon said, when Homeboy was in Seattle, he had that defense playing. And, I don't know much about Graham, but I hear a lot of people say he has a decent background as well. I'm hearing from other people that these guys are good candidates. So again, my hope would be is that you are interviewing them because there's an interest. Not because you're trying to say, well, we did interview at least 2 minority candidates. I think Terrell Austin.
Go ahead. But are they minority candidates? Let's think about this. You said they interviewed 2 minority candidates, but the guy who might be up for the job is black. So essentially they're hiring. So essentially they're interviewing the same thing. There's no.
That's my point.
What I'm saying? There's no. It's not. If you want to have a real conversation, it's really just like how it will be on the other side when they do the same thing when they interview other people. They hire the person that they want. It's just Tomlin's they're just doing the same thing. It's they just happen to both be African American. Yeah. And so the reality is we'll get into that. I don't want to get too far to the main topic, but the reality of that defense is we'll get into that. But to me, I look at it as like that's progress because if I'm hiring, if the guy underneath may take over the job, he's African American, I go look for 2 other candidates and they're both African American, hey man, that's a good day. That's just me. That's a great day personally. So,
I just got slightly mixed feelings about it, only because like what you said. I was gonna say that is Austin is already there, so technically he's interviewing, and like somebody just said here that Ricard also interviewed with the Ravens yesterday. It's like, see, guys, listen. As you can tell, I'm an African American male, right? So I gotta speak my mind when it comes to this. I'm sorry if it offends some people, but I hate to see some of these coaches get shuffled around just because teams are. I hate that. And I just hope that one of these guys, man, like Ricard, I like Chris Ricard. I liked him when he was in Seattle. I hope he finds a job somewhere. I hope we don't hear later that all of these dudes just interviewed with all of these teams, because it's like, who can we interview? Again, I'm not saying the Steelers are doing that. Obviously, the Rooneys, they have a black head coach. So obviously, whether it's for whatever reason they did it, they don't have a problem with it per se, right? So I'm just saying, I hope that our team is not doing the quota thing. Please don't do that. Like, it'd be nice to see somebody hired if that is the case. But like you said, it's probably going to be Austin, so we'll see. I mean, I would entertain the idea, man, of what's the name? I'm surprised the Ravens let him go. Wink Martindale.
Oh, Wink Martindale.
I was shocked. I was really shocked by that. I like his aggressiveness. I like his aggressiveness, man. I would take a shot at that.
I mean, I would entertain Wink. I would entertain Fangio. I would entertain. I don't know about the former Bengals coach, because that would essentially be him relinking. I mean, the former Vikings coach, because that would be him relinking with Terrell Austin, because remember Terrell Austin was underneath him at Cincinnati. So I don't know if you really want to do that. My thing is, as I've told you in Texas, it really comes down to I'm cool with Terrell Austin getting the job, but to me, the cornerbacks weren't our biggest weakness. I would say that the talent in our cornerback room was, you could argue, was a weakness, but that wasn't the weakness that was killing us. It was the fact that people could run up and down the field on us like nobody was there. And I know Keith Butler cited this recently, saying that the defensive line injuries devastated them. But I'm like, that's part of the deal. People get hurt every year. Somebody's gonna get hurt next year. You know what I mean? It's part of the game. You're playing football, physical game. So the depth is important. So I guess I would say that if you have somebody like whoever's doing the defensive line, if they keep the people that they have, it's going to be vitally important. Now that we know that Tyson Alou is coming back.
That was good news.
Right. And I mean, we don't know about, we don't know about Tua. And I think that's really a question mark that you have to really consider. I will say there's a blessing in disguise with this year's team with drafting Loudermilk, and him progressing the way that he did was a good thing. Mm-hmm. And he may be able to take another step, and I think that's good. And a surprise getting Montravius Adams, he's going to help next year as depth, and I like that. And but if you can get somebody like Tua, and to me, I don't even think it's physical. I think with Tua, it's all mental. It's about, can he ever get back to what he was, considering the year that he had, which is so unfortunate. So it's one of those things for me. And it'll be interesting to see who does the defensive line, because to me, the run defense is everything. Everybody said in their exit interviews, it's the run defense. You have to be able to stop people from running the ball. It's just not to steal away for 200 yards on you and control the clock, and all that stuff is like, I keep telling people, if you beat me throwing the ball, I'll be upset. If you beat me running the ball and I can't stop you, that's demoralizing. That's your manhood. That's what are you, what you are as a man. When you can't stop somebody from running the ball on you, that hurts your heart, man.
When they run it, like
they run
back to back to back. Oh man, woo, tough to watch.
So and I can't blame it on And people will say, well, it's Devin Bush and it's the linebackers and Schobert didn't play well. I always tell people, if your defensive line can't stop the run, those linebackers that look all cute will get exposed very quickly. Because once that offensive lineman can get to that second level and get to that linebacker, Devin Bush can't get off blocks like that. We've known that since Michigan. So that's not like a surprise. You know what I mean? So it's Schobert, he's more cerebral and he does a better job at it. But Steelers got decisions in that area, which is something that's not even on the topic today. That's another area that you can get into. But inside linebacker, what do you do in that scenario? You know what I mean? Because I tell people, I mean, you watch the national championship, and Sim was texting me. We were texting each other back and saying, "Man, these boys flying around the field. Man. They everywhere." So and I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, man, we kind of need those guys." You know what I mean? These guys like that. So Nakobe Dean and I'm talking about both sides, Alabama and Georgia. They both had multiple linebackers. So I think it's an interesting thing. It just depends on, I'm happy for Terrell Austin. I think he should get, he never had that job. So I think it would be an interesting thing to see if he gets it. And, but that defensive line, man, it's everything.
It's an interesting point, too, you made about inside linebacker, because you guys realized towards the end of the season, Marcus Allen was getting most of the snaps in the dime. That ain't no disrespect to him, but Devin Bush was drafted for that. We shouldn't be taking a first round inside linebacker off the field.
Right.
In those type of situations. So it just goes to show you the type of shuffle. And what did we all say? What did we say about Schobert when we drafted, traded for him? Pass cover. He can cover. He was coming off the field and dime. That's not good. That is not good at all. I wonder what they're going to do, man, as far as his contract, because his contract is a little hefty. So,
I think they're going to cut him.
Yeah, man. You might have to.
I think they're going to cut him, and I think they're going to draft the inside linebacker in this draft. There are multiple guys you can get that you can pair with Devin Bush. Challenge Devin Bush. You still got Buddy Johnson. He'll develop. I still got hope for Buddy Johnson.
Yeah.
But I would draft the inside linebacker. There's multiple guys. There's kid out of Wyoming, but he'll probably be gone. There's kid out of Penn State that we've been talking about. I'll take him in a second and just put him with Bush because he can do multiple things. I said it before. He reminds me of he's Lawrence Timmons. He did what Lawrence Timmons used to do, where he could play inside and out. And Mike Tomlin loves those guys, man. He loves that type of versatility. There's Channing Tindall out of Georgia. You can probably get him in the third and the fourth. He was making plays all over the field in the national championship game. There are multiple guys. There's Chad Muma out of Wyoming. He's more Joe Schobert type. There's both those kids out of Wisconsin, and you know about those. The two kids out of Wisconsin that are. And look, Steelers like Wisconsin players.
Yeah.
And if you want to have a real conversation, Wisconsin is turning out pros. You say they have multiple pros in the NFL right now, and so there's a lot of options. There's going to be a lot of options that you can have at that position. I just think that they're going to pair somebody with Bush, and the way I look at it is that if they don't give him his fifth-year option, whoever they draft, that's the guy that's going to be the next guy. If they don't re-sign Bush, they'll just have Buddy Johnson, to compete and come up. They may re-sign Marcus Allen. You know what I mean? Just keep him because of his, special teams and what he does. And you let Joe Schobert, you cut Joe Schobert. That's money. I mean, he's not worth what you're paying him. So
nope.
so you cut him. I mean, you keep 41. And
Spillane,
he back up. And Spillane just do.
Yeah, he's what you thought Metakevich could have been. Dirty Red. Not a starter.
Right.
Tackle machine. So I thought Dirty Red was going to be what Spillane is. Spillane plays hard, man. And Spillane be around the ball. He's not horrible. I'd keep him, for backup capacity for sure. But I know y'all itching for us to get to Tomlin, man. So let's get to a couple other topics real quick. We might as well just do the 2021 recap. It's gonna be quick on my end.
Me too.
I mean, we recap the season every week during the season, right? But just to put a bow on it. All right, guys. Before the season started, if we're honest, the team probably finished right where they were supposed to. Before we even seen a down. Remember when we were worried about, man, who's going to play nickel corner? Who's going to be the starting outside corners? Can Cam Sutton play on the outside? What's going to happen when we go to nickel? Is James Pierre going to play on the outside? Will they get a free agent? These are all questions, right? Man, we lost a couple pieces on defense. We won't be able to do what we did with Mike Hilton.
Right.
All questions. Man, look at this offensive line. David DeCastro goes down with injury. We cut him. We draft 2 rookie guys, one in the 3rd, one in the 4th. They're starting. Second year man is playing guard. I don't want to say washed, but a guy who was on the street is playing right guard for you. And then a guy in a core for that we didn't know. Was it going to be him? Was it going to be Banner? So before we even start the season, who's your quarterback? Ben Roethlisberger. We started seeing signs last year. Ben can't throw deep. The 50-50 balls are not getting down the field. It's more combat catch. Washington came in and showed us exactly how to play Ben, and it seems like it was copy-paste from that point on. Quick passes. Could barely run the football. We draft Najee. It was like, okay, but we all still said, well, how is the O-line going to be? So coming into the season, we shouldn't have had high expectations. Before the Buffalo game, I said, man, I don't know. That's going to be a tough one to win. All of us said that. They go in there and win the game. Not on offense. But we kind of gave them a pass. It was like, oh, okay, it's the first game of the season. Defense showed up. Then the next 2 weeks, played Raiders pretty tight. They got us over the top late. Cincinnati came in and dusted us. We played Green Bay. Semi-tight. Ben misses Juju on one of them was a touchdown. No question. If he catches it.
Right.
So by week 5, week 6, I think most of us that really look at the game kind of like, this offense.
Yeah.
This offense ain't scoring no points. Then we play Seattle. Right around that time too. And what starts happening? Whoa. They can't stop the run. Whoa. People can run the football when they want to run the football, and it continued game after game after game. No Stephon Tuitt. He doesn't return by week 8. Alulu. We started seeing a significant, lost in the middle. Devin Bush is not playing like Devin Bush. Looks like he's a little nervous about that injury. We get Joe Schobert. We're like, okay. Yeah, very timid. We go get Joe Schobert. Like, all right, let's see what he's going to do. First game, we gave him a pass. He's learning. Second game, maybe he's still learning. Third game, all right, Joe, come on. I need you to be a little better than that. Then he finally started doing decent. Remember that one game he made a couple plays, but then it just there was never a time, and I'm trying to be fair here, but if I'm wrong, somebody tell me. There's never a time after a game that you guys, did any of y'all come away saying, yo, Joe Schobert balled in that game?
No.
Not one. Every single game of the season there's a play I could tell you about Cam Hayward. Every game. Same could be said for TJ Watt. And even though some of y'all don't believe this, same could be said about Minka. Every game he did something.
Wait. You could say every game Edmonds made a play.
Edmonds played pretty solid.
I know somebody I don't think he's that great, but I'm telling you right now, Edmonds made a play every game. Every game this year, he made a play.
Not so much Joe Schobert. Definitely not Devin Bush. So I say all that to say this, man. It came down to a Steelers offense that was led by a Hall of Fame quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger that's no longer able to play like a Hall of Famer. Ran some of the same concepts on offense that we saw with Randy Fichtner. Didn't see a whole lot of change out of Matt Canada. I know some people have their opinions whether it was him or Ben. I could be wrong, but I tend to lean towards the common denominator. I feel like the offense didn't change much when Fichtner took over and Ben was the quarterback, and it didn't change that much with Canada and Ben was a quarterback. I mean, listen, Ben is an 18-year vet. I mean, these conversations behind closed doors, I'm sure it's, all right, what do you like? These are the type of things I'm going to build around you, but it's not going to be it's not going to be, and I give them credit till this day for doing this. Lamar Jackson comes in for Joe Flacco, and it's a totally different offense. Like, whoa, what's this? That won't going to happen with Ben. So that's the only reason why I said I'm willing to see what Canada can do next season. If he doesn't do good next season, then okay. But I'm willing to see because, again, if we're being honest with ourselves, we didn't see a lot of difference from 2020 to 2021. That has to be Ben. You can't tell me that's Canada and Fichtner that just can't. They had very similar play. And we saw some sprinkles from Canada. Let's not act like we didn't. We saw some stuff like, oh, that could be something. But you know what I mean? So that's really my recap, guys. That's what happened. Steelers defense couldn't stop the run. And because we couldn't stop the run, our pass defense suffered. Because we couldn't stop the run, our defense often gave away in the second half of games. Our offense resembled the offense of last season, actually scored less points. That was it. How we finished 9-7-1, I have no idea. We definitely should have lost that Detroit game looking at how we played. We tried to give it to them. They just didn't want it. So that's what it is in a nutshell, guys. Our quarterback, unfortunately, wasn't as sharp as he could be. And that's age, you know. And again, some of you guys don't watch the All 22 and all of that, but it's a lot of times, man. Y'all heard me come on here every week and say, Ben is making predetermined. It's like, and again, part of that is the offensive line. I'm going to give Ben some credit and say maybe part of that is let's get the ball out quick. I don't have a lot of time, so he's predetermining. But I showed y'all numerous plays where if he just reads his progressions, these dudes are wide open. And Ben would just look off real quick. What are you doing? Look right there. He's right there. He's wide open. And on top of that, run defense. So that's it. Nothing special to say, Kenyon. I mean, that's what happened.
Yeah, I can only expound on it. I mean, Sim said everything. We kind of agreed on that. Only thing I would say is that, well, I've said this, you know, Ben hasn't been able to throw for the last 4 years. So, like, when people ask me that question, I always say he's been declining for 4 years. Like, I don't know why it's a surprise to people. You know, as I said before, the injury that he had 2 years ago, to me, it just sped up him not being what he was, and he couldn't run anymore, which was the element of his game. And it's just so funny watching Buffalo and Kansas City, and you start thinking, that's Ben Roethlisberger right there. Josh Allen, he's doing what that's Ben.
Yeah.
So when you watch him, you say to yourself, you know, that's what it is. And I think, as Sim said, and as I've been telling people, which is why, if you notice, I haven't said anything about Matt Canada like that. I've just said that he can't do anything until he gets the people the players he wants in his offense. And I believe that he walks in that room and he, as Sim says, you do have to compromise. You have to work together with the quarterback. And Ben is going to have the ability to override certain things. And if Ben doesn't want to run a certain play, he doesn't want to run a certain play because he's comfortable knowing what works for him. It's worked for him for 18 years. So he's going to keep doing what he wants to do, thinking it's going to help them. And, you know, to me personally, you know, Ben has been most successful when he's had a run game. So when he's had a run game, he's been successful. when you don't have a run game, it's different. You know, even in the Killer B era, you know, with Le'Veon Bell and all that stuff, and they would give Le'Veon the ball and all that stuff, but it wasn't. The Steelers' offense has always been better if you just have a back that can pound and control the clock and not have Ben throw a lot of balls. I've always told people Ben is a gunslinger. He's in the mode of Brett Favre, and he wants to gunsling. That's what he wants to do. And I think that's just what that's what he was, what he is. It's got him to the Hall of Fame. He's a great player. Some people say he's the greatest Steeler quarterback ever. You know what I mean? And especially the generation that didn't get to see Terry. I saw Terry, so I have my viewpoint is a little bit different. But like who you like. But I just think that offense, I'm with Sim. I can't judge Canada until he gets the personnel he wants. And it's weird because I was watching old Maryland tape and I was just watching how the offense worked. And as I told Sim, I was like, you know, if you watch the San Francisco 49ers, that's Matt Canada's offense because Schottenheimer and Canada know each other from way back in the day. And, you know, Canada ran that offense at Wisconsin. That's where he originally started. And people were copying his offense. And he ran that offense back in the day when he had Ron Dane, if you remember. Remember when they had Ron Dane and Ron Dane broke all those records?
Yeah.
That's, you know, so that's that offense. So it's a weird thing until you get the people that you need, an RPO type quarterback that can do what he wants to do. I think, as I've told people in the chat and I've told Sim, he had a playbook, but I believe he got to page 10. And I believe he never opened the playbook up. He can never open the playbook up the way he wanted to open it up because he never had the personnel. Now, if he next year we'll see, but if he, you know, and I don't think he can really personally do it with Mason Rudolph. I think he needs an RPO type guy that can run those plays because if you look at the NFL, that's what the NFL is. The NFL right now is an RPO offense. They copy college. So that's what you're getting. The quarterbacks you're getting now are all RPO oriented. So, you know, to me, that's the season because the defense struggles. Once Alulu went out, it was really, you kind of saw what was going to happen. You know what I mean? And I think people didn't realize how important Alulu was to that defense and what he did by plugging up that, you know, those holes for you and being able to take on blocks and the stuff. And, it just took pressure off Cam Hayward. It took pressure off. And then think about it. You don't have Alulu and then you don't have Tuitt. So imagine if you had them, you know, that's why I'm going to play the what if game because they're not there. So you have to deal with what you got. You got to deal with what you got. And, you know, as Sim said, that's why I want to get into it. Devin Bush, you can argue regressed. Was disappointing. Joe Schobert's not worth the money that they traded to get him. You know, and he had okay games, but he never stood out. And I think that you know the Steelers on defense have a couple of players that, you know, the surprise would be Ahkello Witherspoon who sat, and there were weeks that he didn't even play. And wasn't acclimated to the system. So you imagine if he played more games, what would have happened? And I think Joe Hayden can't run anymore. He can't be a starting cornerback for you anymore. I like Cam Sutton as a player. I like Cam Sutton as a smart player. He's very smart. But I don't think he's an outside corner now because I don't know. I don't think he can run. I don't think he can run with certain people. And I think that's a big thing. You know what I mean? And you can position all you want to. I think that's why Sim gets so upset when they play off. He has to play off because if he can't chuck the receiver at the line and expect to run with him. You know what I mean? And so my thing is, Ahkello can do that. Ahkello can do that, but Ahkello is not really physical. You know, he wasn't physical in college. He was at Colorado. He wasn't physical. I saw him play two times a year against US. I saw him play all the time. So I knew about Ahkello. But as I told people, I saw Ahkello getting taken care of by Michael Pittman Jr. And Michael Pittman Jr. was a sophomore. Like, I remember that. So I always look at stuff like, that type of stuff to me tells me, but Ahkello to me has improved. He's a guy that earned his. They have to resign him because if they resign him, it takes a little pressure off. But they still got to get a cornerback. They got to get another cornerback, another DB. They might need two. You know what I mean? The pleasant surprise I would say would be Trey, the rookies. I think Trey was a pleasant surprise. To get him in the 7th round, and to be honest with you, he's their best playmaking
Yeah.
corner besides Minka. Like,
He's
he
gonna
makes
be
plays.
okay.
He's going to be all right.
Yeah.
So, as a whole, if you look at the draft class, you want to have a draft class. Hey man, they had some players that were very productive for him. Najee, Pat, Dan Moore, Trey. That's 4 picks. If you have 7 picks and 4 of them are good, have produced for you,
Yeah.
that's a good draft.
Louder Milk did some things in his limited action.
Louder Milk. So you can add him. That's 5. I mean, the person that you can say was a disappointment was Kendrick Green, and you can say Kendrick Green was a disappointment, and trying to think. And Buddy Johnson didn't play a lot, so you really don't know what you have in those 2 players. So other than that, that's 5 picks, man. 5 out of 7. Not many people can say that, and they didn't have to sit. They played and they contributed, and to me, that's always a positive. So, my season recap is the Steelers. I didn't expect them to. I mean, every year the goal is to try to win the Super Bowl. Like that's how I look at it. I never look at it like, to be mediocre. I don't think that's the way that they look at it. That's not their standard, and you can't. If you start thinking like that, then you'll end up picking 1, 2, or 3. And I don't think the Steelers ever want to do that. So I think that, and I don't think they ever will, unless they just have a devastating season. And they've never had that. Tomlin won't. I said this before. Tomlin won't let them be that bad. You know what I mean? He just won't. So it's, to me, it was I didn't expect them to make the playoffs. So for them to get in, to me, was an accomplishment. And for all the people because there are people out there that just don't like Tomlin and just want this and that and his record in the playoffs and all this stuff, and I find it interesting. I'm in LA, look at the Rams coach, and people praise that coach, and all his coaches get jobs, and they praise that coach. And I said to myself, he hasn't won a Super Bowl.
That's true.
I mean, you praise him, he hasn't won a Super Bowl. He has not won a Super Bowl. So it's weird. Tomlin's been the 2. So I always look at it like, and. I know the people that say, well, it was because he had Ben and all this other stuff. And I'm like, hey, man, as I told Sam, Bill Cowher coached Ben Roethlisberger 3 years. Tomlin coached him 15. So who had who? Because if you play with somebody a long time and it outweighs the number of times the coach you had previous, that kind of answers your question. It's like moving to a new city. You know what I mean? You start living there longer than where you were born at. You know what I'm saying? You're not really not from that city anymore. You kind of moved on. So
yeah.
So it's an interesting dynamic, but we'll see. I mean, my recap, I'm with Sam. I have no other thoughts on that. To me, it was a okay season, and I mean, and TJ, we have to give TJ his props. TJ has turned into an elite pass rusher. You can argue he's the best defensive player in the league. You can argue that. He's a straight, as Tony says, my man Tony, who's not here, but lotto stud. He is a lotto stud, as Tony would say. Shout out to Tony, and he's just a lotto. And and Cam Hayward has been a lotto stud, and to me, he's gotten better as he's gotten older. I just want Cam to get some help, to get another person to go along with him, and what I thought that was Tuitt. But I've said this before about Tuitt. I love Tuitt, but he's never played 16 games, and I definitely don't expect him to play 17 games. So I don't know my thought process on that. From a business standpoint, if he was healthy, and I thought if he was a sound mind and he still had value, would I trade Tuitt? I might, because I he's not reliable. So in the situation, forget this situation. This is different. This doesn't count. He shouldn't have been playing because of the situation. I understand. I get that, but it's. We'll see. It was a so-so season, man. That's the best way I could look. We had highs and we had lows, but the one thing I will say is that shout out to Ben and his Hall of Fame career, and I'm glad I got to see him play. I'm glad Sim got to see him play. That's his guy. I'm glad you guys got to see him play. He was a great player for us, but we're in the era after Ben, or AB as I like to call it. So we're gonna find out very quickly about how the Steelers move on and address that quarterback need. So that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, man. And it's funny, guys, as y'all probably see the ticker at the bottom. I'm supposed to have been doing this for each topic, but I won't pay no attention. Just giving y'all a little eye candy. So speaking of life after Ben, I'm going to roll this one here, guys, and see how y'all feel about it. Let me show you. How do you feel about Sam Howell? And I'll get to that in a moment as we talk a little bit about life after Ben, and then we're going to wrap up the show with Tomlin, because that is the main topic. I might surprise some of you guys, man. I text Kenya yesterday out the blue, and I said, hey, man, I might owe Sam Howell an apology. Y'all heard me say all season that I'm kind of off him because he reminds me of Baker Mayfield, which is true in a sense, but that's really not fair to him. Because who's to say he's going to be like Baker in the NFL? And really, the more I look at it, I think I was being biased. I saw a game or two where he wasn't his best, and it made me sway my opinion a little bit. But Baker don't run the ball like that. Baker don't show that type of toughness that this kid shows. Let me give Baker some credit. I will say Baker, in my opinion, in some of the games I've seen him play, his accuracy has improved a bit. But I don't know if his deep ball looks like what Sam Howell's look like. So I say all that to say, man, I'm not saying that this is the surefire pick, but there's interest in him. We keep hearing it. Kevin Colbert attended a game or two of his. Two, in fact, I think, because I think he also attended the Carolina and Pitt game.
Right.
Wouldn't be surprised if they go quarterback if they went with a guy like Howell, because Howell probably will be there. Kenny Pickett, of course. I like Kenny Pickett. Y'all know that. I like Malik Willis. I'm going to be honest. I like his, me and Kenyon have said this before, I love his talent. You can just see raw talent in people. How well will it translate to the NFL? We'll have to see. You know what I'm saying? Do I feel the same way about Willis that I did about Lamar Jackson coming out of Louisville? I don't know. Lamar, I knew he gonna be a problem. It was just something about him. Malik, I don't know if he gives me that feel yet, but I see the talent. So if I had to make an assessment right now, and I do need to watch him a little bit more because I'm going to give him the same respect that I did with Howell. Go back and watch a few more games. Maybe a couple of the games I didn't see. Maybe Malik might be more of the project. Perhaps. I don't know. But his talent, man, his escapability, it's like, you know how you could just see, Lamar Jackson has that will. Like, he's going to fake you. He's going to fake you out. He's going to get there. Like, he don't just, like, Malik got a little bit of that. I'm not just talking about the way he runs, but it seems like he makes it happen when it looks like there's nothing there. And that's what is special about him. But, I do need to go back and evaluate his arm and all of that, because I'm going to be honest, man. Some of the games I watched, I was just so blown away about, like, yo, how did he get out of that? Kenyon to tell you, I'm watching a game and I text him like, yo, man, I'm watching this game. I think you saw the same game. Remember that play when he did, like, how did he do that? So now I need to just, now that we got time, I need to go back and really just watch every play and just watch his reaction in the pocket, his decision-making, ball placement, all that type of stuff. But Sam Howell, man, listen, if you don't get Pickett, again, this is assuming that they draft a quarterback.
Right.
This is also, I'm still under the same assumption that they're not going to play the rookie immediately.
Oh, okay.
So He
so
might.
You're sitting him a year. You're sitting him a year. That's what you're saying.
I think they do the Ben Roethlisberger approach.
Okay.
Like, because I think if you read between the lines of what Tomlin is saying earlier, reports say he doesn't want, he wants a veteran. That kind of sounds like, look, if we get a guy, I'd rather him learn and then we play him when we need to play him. Or it could be that he is going to go after a free agent and wait till 2023. Or it could mean, y'all don't want to hear this, as Debbie would say, the reindeer, or is it Debbie or Lanisha? One of them call him the reindeer. The reindeer might be the guy next year, guy. I'm just saying. And a likely scenario is if they draft one of those kids, that he sits behind Rudolph until Rudolph needs to be pulled. And then we'll see him play. I think we'll more than likely see him play. We'll see this guy play in 2022 if Rudolph isn't playing well. But I think the idea would be is if they draft a guy this year, they'll let him sit. And yeah, I kind of like what I've seen out of Sam Howell, man, in these last couple games I watched. I wouldn't be mad at that pick because, like I said, guys, he's tough. I was telling Kenyon, the dude runs the ball like Josh Allen. Not the same, obviously. He ain't Josh Allen's size, but he's fearless. Like the way he takes off and like I don't really see him. He ain't looking to slide. Like he just has a toughness about him. You know how people say, when you from Pittsburgh, you respect a certain grit, and he got it. He got some of that. He got that. Definitely, from what I've seen. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback. I'm just trying to prep you guys. If the smoke is out there saying that the Steelers like him, don't be surprised. And that's why I'm paying more attention to him to see the things that I do like about him. Because it's a potential that he could be the quarterback. He could be our quarterback at some point. We'll see. Life after Ben could be rough. And I want to say this, man, and shout outs to Arthur Moats and his guy Deke. I wanted to disagree with Deke a little bit. If you see this, it's all love. I'm just saying. Deke had me laughing earlier today. It was one of their clips I watched, right? And Deke is approaching it like a lot of you guys in the chat. He's so much a fan, right? He wants Ben Roethlisberger to come back. That's number one. Number two, he's trying to compare our next quarterback with Hall of Fame Ben Roethlisberger. So him and Arthur Moats was having a disagreement about, Jimmy Garoppolo and this and that. And Moats was like, look, man, I mean, you can't just say Garoppolo is or average. He was like, that's kind of what you're going to get. You can't compare. We're not going to replace Ben with Ben. And Moats was like, it's likely that you're going to get a decent guy. Or maybe you get lucky and you get a Mahomes in the draft or one of them dudes that's just, maybe. But it's likely that you're going to get a decent quarterback. And he was like, look, Garoppolo did go to the Super Bowl. He wasn't advocating for Jimmy. He just was saying, you're not going to be able to replace Ben Roethlisberger, who you love, with another Hall of Fame guy next season. Like, the reality is, right, it's more likely that life after Ben will be grim a little bit until we find the guy than it is we luck up and we draft a dude that just starts ascending immediately. Mm-hmm. It's less likely for that to happen. I'm not saying it can't. But we have to look at this thing realistically and like, dog, same thing with the AB situation, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody was comparing Juju to him. Like, how y'all comparing our next number one receiver to Antonio Brown? Like, we spoiled. Ever since Troy left, every strong safety we got, oh man, he ain't no dog. These guys don't grow on trees, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, let's temper our expectations. I mean, in today's NFL, like Kenya said, it's an RPO game, so maybe a lot of these quarterbacks can come in and they can play like Joe. Listen, I'll take Joe Burrow right now. The way he's playing, a guy who can play like that, thank you. Come on.
Right.
Herbert, come on. Maybe we get that. I don't know. So again, I won't sit here and say that we're gonna have some long seasons. We might not. But you just can't expect that we're gonna have, like, it's gonna be a sure shot quarterback right out the gate. There's no guarantee, man. So Sam Howell here could be your guy, guys. I'm just saying, just put that birdie in your ear and don't be surprised if it happens. What you think, Kenyon, overall? I mean, I know what you think, but just to tell the folks, life after Ben, and how you feel about Howell, man.
Yeah, I told people in the chat 3 weeks ago. I went back. I think I told Rajwan that, and I said I went back and I started looking at Sam Howell's games again, just to kind of refresh, kind of go over stuff and go a little bit more in depth. And I remember he was like, why would you do that? And I'm like, sometimes you got to go back and watch people, because I don't think this is a particularly strong quarterback draft class, and I've been saying that the 23 class is the better class. It's the one with the more franchise type quarterbacks coming out, and I just think that when I went back and watched Sam Howell, I had to look at him in two ways: when he had weapons and when he didn't have weapons. So the year before, when he was a sophomore, and he had Javonte, and he had Michael, and he had the receiver that Sim loved, that played well in the NFL. When he had all those dudes, all those weapons, he looked like a top 3 pick. If you watched him, you were like, oh, this kid right here, he's going to be the truth. I mean, me and Sim used to text back and forth, especially after the Miami game. We were watching the Miami game, and we're texting back and forth during that game, like, oh, this dude right here, he's going to be, and this year he didn't have those weapons. But one thing that stuck out about him to me is that, as Sim said, he has grit, he has toughness, he has heart. And I think I saw more of it this year because he didn't have the same weapons, didn't have the same people around him. And he still played good, he still played hard. Does he have things I don't like about him? Yeah, I think when he gets in the pocket, I think his feet get a little antsy in certain situations when he's trying to make throws. I think that he can be inaccurate at certain times, but he can throw the deep ball. And I would say he has the second best arm strength in this draft, maybe second or third. I'd probably say it's probably Carson Strong, him, and Malik Willis, like the top 3 guys. They could throw it like real deep. But Carson Strong, you can't draft that guy now in this era, because if you draft Carson Strong in this era, especially with knee injury, and you run an RPO type offense, you can't draft that guy in Kansas system. He probably can play in another system, but I don't know if he can play in Kansas system. Malik Willis, as Sim said, talent-wise, he has a game. He's like a best analogy I got was he's like a faster Jalen Hurts. If you want to look at it like that, he's like a faster Jalen Hurts, and I don't know what to think about that because I didn't really like Jalen Hurts. So I don't know if I would want that person, and I don't know if his progressions aren't great. Like if you watch games with him, you know what I mean? But when he's hot, he can make every throw. And as Sim said, he will make you miss. And him using the Lamar analogy to me just makes me think, yeah, that's what you thought about when you saw Michael Vick. So Lamar reminded you of Vick because it was almost like, when Vick got into the open field, it was on. It was like, you were in trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's how Lamar makes you feel. Malik has a little bit of that in him because if he gets you one-on-one, and the thing about him that's a little bit different is that he'll truck you. Well, like some dudes will try to run around you. He can shake you, but he can't run over you. He will do that. Not as fast as Lamar, a little bit faster than Jalen. It'll be interesting to see how he runs. But as a talent, as far as overall talent, he's a project. And if somebody like the Steelers take him, yeah, he'll sit. But if you can get him up to speed and maybe he can grow, maybe you have something there. Because these quarterbacks that you see, there's no guarantee that they'll be great or that they'll be good. Baker Mayfield was the number 1 pick in the draft, and Cleveland already wants him out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know. It's an inexact science. So, Kenny Pickett, love Kenny. I just don't have a feeling. I don't know if he'll be there, at 20. I mean, you might have to trade up to get Kenny Pickett. But he does things very well. So I love him too. Like I said, this class to me is, Desmond Gritter. That's gonna be the guy that I focus on. I'm gonna really start trying to really watch Desmond Gritter more.
I was about to say that too. Like, what kind of talent does he have? Because
what is he really?
I haven't watched him. Yeah.
Right. What is he really? And then as far as what's the kid of Ole Miss? I keep forgetting, from LA.
Coral.
Matt Corral.
Yeah.
He's a great leader. I'm telling you right now, he might be the best leader in his class. All the players love him. They love playing around him. He's a great leader. The thing about Matt Corral is that he's very light. And we don't have an offensive line that can protect Matt Corral. He can run,
yeah.
But he weighs 180. And I don't think he has a great deep ball. I think his accuracy is interesting. I think he plays in a system that allows him to flourish. And I don't know how he would do in a pro system where you have to be a little bit more, your throws have to be better. And I don't think Matt Corral is that. It's weird. I've seen Matt Corral for a long time. So like when I talk about Matt Corral and people have talked to me about Matt Corral, say, Matt Corral to Ole Miss. I always tell people, I've seen Matt Corral since high school. He went to Long Beach College. I saw him in high school. So like my rating of him is just more of me watching him for like, what's this be, 5 years? I've seen Matt Corral for 5 years. So I know what he is. Sim essentially reminded me of him when he was watching the Ole Miss game a year ago. And I was like, I forgot. Oh, I know about him because he's from LA. He's from Poly, same school, Juju, and I've seen him play. He's a great leader though. Kid can lead. He'll ride around you, and he has heart. He has heart like Sam Howell. He has that same type of heart. But Sam Howell is bigger than him as far as like physically, and that's a tell. When you're that light, you have to have a great offensive line because if you don't, look, those boys is coming and they coming for you. So like, Matt Corral he's been injured twice in college. And I always tell people when you get injured a lot in college, that means you might get injured in the pros. You know what I mean? I've only seen like one dude that got injured in college that didn't really get injured in the pro like that. And that was Frank Gore of 2 knees as a running back. That's the only guy I've ever seen that's done that. So
and played for 40 years.
He played for 40 years. I'm saying, and he had devastating knee injuries in college.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, to me, those quarterbacks, they're all jumbled up. And the real big tell, and I'm pretty sure me and Sam we'll talk about it, have a show about it, is that Senior Bowl is going to be everything. The Senior Bowl, this Senior Bowl that's coming up will be the best evaluation I've seen in a minute for those quarterbacks. Because all those quarterbacks we just talked about, they're all going down there, except for Corral because he's injured. But the rest of those guys, they'll be there. So we're going to find out.
That's this week, right?
Yeah, that's this week. Yeah, starting Friday. Friday, they got to go down there. So to me, I don't know if there's a franchise guy, but life after Ben is going to be life after Ben. I just think the Steelers don't want to repeat the same mistake they made in 1983. They're not doing that again. I think the Rooneys get bashed for that. Have been getting bashed for that since that year. You know what I mean? And they drafted Ben. And you know what I mean? And later, but look how long it took them. They don't want to go through that. And I guess the example would be, look at what Frisco did. Look at what Green Bay did. You can say, they already got their backups and waiting. And this might be that year where, you don't want Pittsburgh's in a situation where they got to get a quarterback. So instead of getting that guy maybe 2 or 3 years ago to sit, you know what I mean? They could have went after Trey Lance. They could have went after, could have did that then. But it's always a different need. So, if they don't get a quarterback in this draft, it might be 23. You might have to just roll with, get a veteran free agent. You might have to roll with the reindeer and hope Dwayne doesn't, get caught up in a situation. You know what I mean? And can produce and all that stuff. And we'll see. I mean, Dwayne was a high draft pick. I mean, he was people thought he was a can't miss product. You know what I mean? But as I said before, he's Ohio State quarterback.
Yeah.
And those Ohio State quarterbacks, man, I don't know, man. I think Justin changed it. I think he has a chance to be really, really good. I think he has Pro Bowl talent. And I think CJ Stroud got a shot. You know what I mean? But so they're changing the perception of them, I would say.
Stroud, he's young, right? He's not this year.
Yeah, Stroud is 23 because he will be a junior next year. So if he comes out, I would assume if Ohio State has a good year, he has a great year, he's out because his draft stock will be 1, 2, or 3. Bryce Young will be a junior also. He'll be 1, 2, 3. Well, actually, as I told people, if NFL Scout said if Bryce Young came out this year, he'd be number 1 quarterback taken. It wouldn't even be close. So that just tells you right there. So it's those two, and then DJ Ukulele out of Clemson, they're all from the same place, and they all were ranked different. It used to be DJ and Bryce, but now it's kind of like Bryce and CJ because DJ struggled at Clemson.
Yeah, he did.
But to me, he has a year. So if he plays well next year, his stock goes way up the ladder. And DJ to me is the closest thing to Ben, besides Josh Allen. He's the closest thing to Ben. Like he looks like Ben. He's 6'5", 235, 240. Will run over you, can throw the deep ball. He has a bigger arm than Ben, but he has to have a great year. It all comes down to next year for him. If he has a great year, he'll go high in the draft. And if the Steelers want to wait, there'll be at least 4 or 5 quarterbacks to me that if they come out next year, they'll be better, more upside than the quarterbacks that you have coming out this year. That's how I look at it. The wild card is Malik, and we'll see. But I like Sam Howell. I'm with Sam. Sim and I, we've talked about going back and watching some of these kids and kind of like, because I've seen them play a lot. So we'll see. But Sam Howell and I think Desmond Gritter is the guy I want to run. I've watched 3 games on him. I watched him in the bowl game, and I didn't like what I saw. And I think that's what I said. I may have to go back and watch him.
Yeah.
Because he looks the part. He can run. You know what I mean? He comes out of the RPO system. He can throw. But I think and I think he processes information well. And I think that's my knock on Malik Willis. Can he process and go through his progressions well? Sam Howell does it all the time. He does it well. And but I wouldn't be surprised if they drafted Sam Howell 20. It wouldn't surprise me.
And Ritter is the biggest one as far as height. Looks like 6'4". The rest of them are a little bigger than him as far as weight and all of that. So we'll see.
Yep.
But all right, guys. The topic of the hour has arrived. We'll finish it up with this. Let me start off by saying this. Let me take a sip of water first. So I don't have to be so long-winded. Every single thing you have heard me say about the defense that I did not like, and I said Butler's name. Oftentimes I also said, hey, and if Tomlin had anything to do, remember I always say that too. But let's be very vanilla. Every single criticism you've ever heard me say about the defense, and I called out Butler, I'm transferring all of that to Mike Tomlin. Nothing changes. I told you guys I don't like to judge off of speculation. Now, why could we speculate that Keith Butler was calling the defense? Well, he's the defensive coordinator. Why would I think anything different? But we're going to get a little deeper into it. Don't worry. I'm putting a disclaimer out there now because some of y'all are going to say, oh, you always getting on Butler. And I'm showing you guys that I have no favoritism towards player, coaching staff. I can like guys. I like Tomlin. Like Tomlin a lot. Y'all know that. But at the end of the day, if Tomlin's, road came to an end, I would bring on the next coach. But Tomlin is not without criticism. So let's just say that. Anything you've ever heard me say about the defense, and I mentioned Butler's name, now I got to point that at Tomlin. If what we're hearing is true, Keith Butler has said as much. Here's another thing. It ain't just that simple. Remember all them times when we said the defense played great, played better? We giving Tomlin credit for that? The same way we won't give him credit for when the defense doesn't look great? What about this year? And it's funny, Kenyon, that this comes out when just a couple games ago, I was like, oh, okay, so Butler's, he's out, and Austin and Tomlin is calling the defense. It's going to be interesting to see how we judge it. And a lot of people were saying, see, Tomlin needs to call the defense. Well, how do y'all feel now? Y'all know what I say all the time. Man, biggest things that hurt my feelings about our team, AFC Championship game, that defense, divisional playoff game, that defense. I got to put it on Tomlin now. What else do I not like that I said this year? I hate spot drop zones. Hate it. Now, guys, listen. In football, there's man coverage, there's zone coverage, and there's variations of both, right? You're never going to call the perfect defense. Sometimes you might call the perfect defense for the situation. We did a few times Sunday when we got off the field. And if you look at the tape, beautiful. Some of the times when we call cover one robber, worked to perfection. But it don't always work like that. So I'm not going to sit here and say every defensive call is supposed to work. But I am still going to look at Mike, situational. I still got to look at that. Sometimes I feel like we just get too relaxed and we sit in the spot zone. I still say we need more pattern matching. But before I even go further, let me read something off to you guys real quick. I came a little bit prepared. Let's go back to, let's just say 2015, because here's the rumor, and I'm definitely going to let Kenyon expound on this one. The rumor is, well, the story is now from what Keith Butler is saying, Mike Tomlin was even calling the defense in the latter parts of LeBeau. But Kenyon made a good point about this off camera, so I'm going to let him expound on that. But let's just go back to 2015 to be safe. What I'm reading to you guys are the defensive rankings. In 2015, and this is not my stats. It's from Pro Football Reference, so I'm assuming it's accurate. I don't know. 2015, the Steelers defense was ranked 11th overall. Not too bad. 2016, Steelers defense was ranked number 10 overall. 2017, Steelers defense looks like we took a little step back. We went up. We were 7th in 2017. 2018, Pittsburgh Steelers defense, this is the year we took a little step back, I believe. We were 17th, all right? Okay. 2019, Pittsburgh Steelers defense overall was number 6. And let's take a look at 2020. Remember that year when most people say we were elite defense? Pittsburgh Steelers were number 3. Now we look at 2021, and I know some of y'all like to use injuries as an excuse. So I'm giving y'all all the information tonight. 2021, this past season, Steelers were 20th. Now, maybe it is fair to say, okay, we took some losses. Obviously, we couldn't stop the run. That's going to increase the yardage, people being able to pass on it. So you can clearly see why we dropped to 20th. But I just want to focus on all of those years that this is since 2015 that we were in the top 10 or just right outside of it. And then we were 6th, 7th, 3rd. Why am I saying this? Well, seems like Mike Tomlin didn't do a half bad job to me. I'm just saying. But even with me saying that, I still, every criticism, every one of them, and you guys have been rocking with me for a while, everything you have ever heard me say after game, calling Butler in the office, now I feel the same way towards Mike Tomlin because it still applies. It doesn't matter who was the coach or who was the one calling it. I have the same opinion. So I am not biased towards Mike Tomlin. it just raises an eyebrow now for two reasons. My question is, what is the point of the defensive coordinator? Why have one on staff? And that's why it's going to be interesting for me to see who becomes the defensive coordinator if we hire one, especially outside. Because I could kind of see maybe why Tomlin was able to, I mean, he has autonomy anyway, right? But I could kind of see why he would be able to do that with Butler because they have a history.
Yep.
Butler had already worked for him below him in terms of linebackers coach. I could kind of see that. An easy transition. Hey man, I'm gonna call the plays, yada yada yada. I just need you to coach the guy, whatever. But hearing about the LeBeau stuff, like I said, I'm gonna let Kenyon dive into that. But now it makes me wonder what would be the purpose of hiring a defensive coordinator if it's not Austin, who's already there and he knows the ropes. If Tomlin is calling the plays, I'm assuming he's gonna know it's gonna be business as usual. But like I said, why even have a DC on staff? I don't get it. I don't know. I don't understand why you even do that. But then second, Tomlin is not running his traditional Tampa 2 all the time. He's running a lot of man coverage. He's running cover 3. I've seen quarters coverage, which for those that don't know, cover 4. Cover 6, I've seen that. I've seen us run invert. I've seen us run cover 2 invert. I've seen us run cover 3 invert. Y'all remember that game when I showed y'all when Cam Sutton was on the line and then he takes off and ends up in the middle of the field? What is that? That's an invert cover 3 with your nickel corner. Wild stuff. So I say all that to say, guys, I have all the same criticisms of the things I don't like about our defense. But when you go back and look at the film, we are doing more things than I thought initially. Like as far as mixing it up. Tomlin, I'm going to need you to get better in situational football in terms of just a higher percentage. I mean, sometimes teams are going to beat you, man. I mean, it ain't nothing you can do. Kansas City is going to out play call pretty much anybody in certain situations. I just need us to be better in some key situations. You know, it kind of makes me think of that New Orleans game from a couple years back. Y'all remember that one? What was it, a 4th and 19? Whatever it was, 3rd and something. Y'all know the play. That kind of stuff. But then again, Kenyon, I will still say, man, when you watch film intently like we do, it's still a good part of it is player execution. It ain't always the play call. Yeah. You know, we've shown that this year too. Cam Sutton, as a matter of fact. So Sunday, the game. Oh, what game was that I showed you guys in the All-22? You guys who saw it will remember. I can't remember which game that was. It wasn't Kansas City, was it? The one where maybe it was when Bush and Sutton both played the flats. Was that?
Right.
That's not play call.
Nope.
That's one of those players not executing. So those are my thoughts, guys. Unbiased opinion here. Coach Tomlin, for all of them times I called Keith Butler in the office, please take his place. Still like him as a coach. I'm not ready to fire him, but I'm going to criticize him the same way I would criticize anyone else who was calling the defense. So those are my thoughts. But I know you got a bunch, Kenyon, man, so please enlighten the people, man. First and foremost, how did you feel when you heard that news? Did it make sense to you? How does it affect the next DC? You know, all of the above.
Well, everybody knows how I feel about KB. I stopped talking about him for like a year, 2 years, because I had made my thoughts known about him. I mean, it's pretty much this simple. I'm going to give a point that's opposite of Sim, but is on the same line. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, you can say Tomlin. You can put stuff on Tomlin, right? But think about it this way: Tomlin is in the same position as Andy Reid is in this way. Eric Bieniemy is supposed to make all those offensive calls, right? But Andy Reid overrides him in the game multiple times. He did it Sunday. He's going to do it this week. He does it all the time because because that's what, that's his system. He knows this. He knows his system. Mike Tomlin essentially does the same thing with Keith Butler. So they're kind of like, he lets Keith call plays, but then in certain situations, Tomlin will say, no, but do this or do that. You know what I mean? So he has the ability to override. That's what a head coach does. They have the autonomy they have that power to do that. And so, yeah, he gets part of the blame. You just can't put it all on Keith Butler. But I also made a point to Sim off camera, and I want people to realize this, is that do you remember when the New England Patriots used to run up and down the field with us against us with Dick LeBeau's zone defense? Do you remember that? How they used to shred us? Tom Brady passed for 500 yards against us and killed us, made us look like we shouldn't have been on the field with them. You remember those days? You remember the one time we beat New England? What defense we ran? We ran man coverage. You know who called that defense? Mike Tomlin. So I want you to remember that. He was the person that did that. He changed the defense to play man in that game and bother Tom Brady. If you can all remember that game, because I remember that game vividly. So it goes both ways. So it's more of an influence of Keith Butler was influenced by LeBeau. Tomlin wasn't influenced by LeBeau. Tomlin is a Dungy disciple. He's a Tony Dungy disciple. And so if you look at it this way, he just meshed those defenses together. As Sim say, they run cover 3, they run cover 2 invert. And Sim is right, they are a cover 2. Tomlin is a cover 2 guy. But you do adjust as your career goes along. You can't adapt new ideas and situations. And if you look at the way that they play, they do that. I think Keith Butler going on and talking about what he wanted to do. One thing about Keith Butler, if you just going by where he was a zone guy. And Tomlin and Keith Butler have known each other since Memphis. Yeah. It's before the Steelers. It's Memphis. He known him since Memphis. So that's when Tomlin was young. You know what I mean? Keith Butler's older than Tomlin. So that's, you know what I mean? So obviously Keith Butler was they was in different roles at that time. So, I look at it like, as Sim says, yeah, you can call Tomlin in the office, but Tomlin gets some praise for some of the stuff he's done. Yeah. So if he's going to get blamed, he gets praise. Just like Andy Reid gets blamed and he gets praise. If you say Bieniemy is the guy, I'm like, no, but Andy Reid calls some of those plays. And all you got to do is watch the game. And you can tell when Andy Reid says, because Andy Reid has that play sheet in his hand. If you watch the game, he always has that sheet in his hand.
He sure do, yeah.
He always has it. So he can override Eric Bieniemy when he wants to, and Tomlin can override Keith Butler. Now, whoever becomes the next DC, which is why me and Sim said earlier, we think Terrell Austin's going to get that job because it's going to work seamlessly. Because Tomlin and if you really the game that shows you that's just them was when Keith Butler had Kobe and they ran the defense.
Yeah.
So that's the future. That's our future defense. So, and whoever comes in, they're not going to have full control because Tomlin's going to always have the ability to override you because he's a head coach. And every head coach has that ability to override what you want to do. Everybody's not Sean Payton. Sean Payton doesn't have an OC. Sean Payton Sean Payton does what he wants. He runs everything. He ran everything. The Rams coach does the same thing. He doesn't have an OC really. He runs everything himself. So that's what I mean. So, my thing is this. I appreciated Keith Butler, but I think he was a guy that got that job, and in a lot of ways, it always rubbed me the wrong way that he kind of was a part of the Steelers pushing LeBeau out early, because I always remember that, and I always remember he was threatening I'm going to leave and do this and that, and that came out. That was reported that he threatened to leave, and they kind of pushed LeBeau out early, and that kind of always bothered me. But I will agree that LeBeau's that zone defense where it worked against other teams, the one nemesis that they couldn't work against was the Patriots, because Bill Belichick saw that defense and was like, oh, this is easy work. You know what I'm saying? And until they changed it a little bit, and that was a Tomlin thing, when they changed it at one time, that's when they beat them. And, the way I look at it is, It's part of the deal. It's part of the deal. And if you look at it now, the way offenses are now, your defense has to be multiple. You just can't have a regular 3. Steelers don't run 3-4. They haven't run a regular base 3-4 in a long time. They run it in run downs, but you have to be multiple now. And really, the hybrid 3-4 defense that you really model is really what the Patriots do, because they run multiple, multiple defenses. And so, as Sim said, that's all I have on Butler. I don't have any ill will towards him. I was out on Keith Butler a while ago, but now with new information, you have to reevaluate. And I would just say that, Keith Butler gets blamed, Tomlin gets blamed. Keith Butler gets a little praise for some of the stuff he did, and Tomlin gets praise for something. I will say the sacks, the way Keith Butler got sacks and was able to get, because he's a linebackers coach, he was great at it. And I think whoever they bring in, you can't lose that, because you have to have the ability to do that. And, he had some great thoughts on Devin Bush about how he kind of regressed, and Devin Bush knows he has to get better. I agree with Keith Butler.
Absolutely.
So that's it. Sim said it best. I don't have any ill will towards Keith. People in the chat, y'all know in the chat, I was just out on him 3 years ago. I knew what he was about. So, I appreciate his work, and I'm interested to see what they do for the next DC job. I just think it might be in-house, because that's the Steelers' way.
Yeah, and it makes sense, man. I mean, if like some of you guys are saying in the chat, if Tomlin plans to do it like that, I mean, who comes in and will just accept that role? I would think any of these guys who are high profile or have done it, they're going to want to run the show. And maybe Tomlin was like, all right, cool. Who knows the reason? Maybe he just did that because of, but we don't know the reason. Right.
So, Great point.
It'll be very interesting to see if they bring in somebody and they allow that person to get off. We'll see. But my only point of bringing this up, guys, because I know it's been burning people in the comments when y'all heard the news, the same criticisms that we've all had about the defense, it transfers to whoever was making those play calls. But like Kenyon said, what we can't do as a fan base, even with Butler, remember we started giving Butler credit for all of them seasons where we've led in sacks. I guess, is that Tomlin or is that Butler? Right?
Right.
So the blame just shifts to whoever was so blanket statement, whoever was responsible. If it was Tomlin, I have the same criticisms of the things that I don't like about the defense. But we're not going to sit here and act like the defense hadn't improved over the last 6 years. Again, last year we were number 3. It's just, we all get disappointed when it's situational ball, which you should. But it happens, right? If we want to talk about situational football, why don't somebody go talk to Leslie Frazier?
Right. And his personnel. And his execution. As Sim said, it's execution. So you can't put blame. You can't say, if Devin Bush and Cam Sutton are in the same area and they get burned on a play, is that Tomlin's fault? Is that Keith Butler's fault? Because they can only put you out there, and then you have to execute. So, and as I always, another point that I think people don't realize is, here's the thing. I think Eric Bieniemy should be a head coach in the NFL. I think he should have been a head coach 2 years ago. But think about it this way. Do you think GMs look at Eric Bieniemy and say, you're not calling all those plays? You can't be a head coach.
Yeah.
Because I know Andy Reid called that play right there. I know Andy, you know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to get that situation. The Rams coach was a quarterback's coach. He was a quarterback's coach and got the reins. They have to give you the reins, then you find out who you are. And I don't know I think Tomlin in a lot of ways was never, you got to look at it this way. Tomlin was never a DC. Remember, he never got that job. He essentially took 2 steps up. He went up the ladder. He never had the ability to run a defense. So in a lot of ways, Tomlin's going to have his hands on everything in a lot of ways because he's a head coach. And if you think about it, he only gains more power as the years go by because, you want to be more hands-on. Can he delegate to somebody and let them run the defense? I'm pretty sure he could. I think he could. I think he can do that. But I think once he sees something wrong, he's going to put his input in because that's what he is. He's a defensive coach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can apply that to anything. I'm pretty sure it's Sim's job, what he's doing, he can delegate, but he's going to put his input. He's going to say, yo, but this, you should do it this way. You know what I mean? And that's what the job is. I mean, so, you know, whoever they bring in, they're going to have the ability to adapt with Tomlin. And that's it.
Yeah.
And Andy Reid and Tomlin to me are so similar in that way because I was watching that game and when Sim said that today, me and Sim were texting. I was like, "That's Andy Reid." At Kansas City, you know what I mean? They always say Eric Bieniemy should get a job. I'm like, yeah, but Andy Reid calling plays. He's still calling. You know what I mean? He's still doing stuff. So you know what I mean? So how much of it is Eric? So, and I like Eric. I'm just pointing out. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying.
It's interesting, man. You know, so. That's all. You know, I didn't want to make a big fuss about it. It's just that it doesn't change. How we all felt, we still feel the same way. Now we just know who, now, I guess with the new information, who was responsible mostly. So nothing changes. Nothing changes. But like I said, our defense hasn't been horrible. And that's why, if we're being honest with ourselves, we all started giving Butler credit. So,
yep.
We'll see. And again, you know, I saw somebody say in the chat, man, you know, getting linebackers matched up on certain guys. I fully agree with that, but it's going to happen. Remember that play with Chase Claypool and who was it? Von Miller? Von Miller. It's going to happen, guys. It's because you don't always put the correct personnel out there depending on what, I mean, you try to, but sometimes offenses catch you out there, right? You go trotting out a base defense or what have you on first down, and here they come in 11 personnel, and now you can't sub, and then they go hurry. I mean, it's going to happen. It happens around the league. Where I criticize our team, Tomlin, Butler, whoever it was, but we're assuming it's Tomlin now, you got to adjust. You know, that's the only thing. Is when we started seeing it repeatedly in the game, like now I'm like, hey, man, come on now. What you doing? But like I said, guys, when we watch football, it's not always going to work. What we should always pay attention to, though, is those key situational things. Mm-hmm. And that's where, you know, you can say, all right, man, we're not good at this, we're not good at that. But that's all I got, man. We do have one donation here from C. Antoine Hill. Round of applause again. He says, I am back. Laugh out loud. Are we going back to the 4-3? That's what I've seen Austin run in Detroit, and I hope we add a 4-6 as well. It all comes down to personnel, man. I know, and I'm not accusing you of this, Antoine, but I know a lot of people, you know, leave comments or send me tweets and stuff saying, man, we should do this. We should go to 4-3. We should run 4-4, 4-6 and all of that. But y'all have to remember, it comes down to personnel. You know, are the Steelers currently built for that? You know, where you're going to have 4 down linemen all the time in a base 4-3 and only 3 linebackers, which means you better have you a dog in the middle.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to do that middle linebacker better be a serious problem. Because at least in the 3-4, man, you're just talking about the run game. You know, if your 3 up front can eat, you know, and you have essentially one inside backer who you really want a thumper, and you have another guy that's an athlete. So they kind of play off each other. But in a 4-3, I mean, you know, you're hoping those 4 are going to, like Kenya said earlier, you're hoping they're going to basically take on a lot of the blocks and maybe your linebackers are roaming. Right. But just think about us getting gashed up the middle. If we don't have a pure beast at the middle linebacker, that could get ugly, you know. But
you can't have a fast. You gotta have a guy that can get off blocks.
Man.
Yeah, I mean we run nickel, so I guess in a lot of ways, it's a hybrid. You know what I mean? So we run nickel, so in a lot of ways that's if you wrote it up, if you write it up, it would be like we ran a 4-3, but it's we run nickel a lot. But I think the thing is that when you move Cam Hayward and maybe Tuitt inside, and then you have Watt and Highsmith on the outside, the gaps are still going to be there. I mean, they're basically just running through the gaps, so the gaps are still going to be there. And I think you just have, I think your linebackers, that's when they come into play, or your safeties. I don't know. I mean, traditional 3-4. That's why I'm pretty much not high on Jordan Davis that much, because I just think that he's a traditional nose tackle. And if you look at our nose tackles now, all our nose tackles now, because Jordan Davis weighs like 340, but he's very athletic to be 340, a beast. And if you look at Tampa Bay's nose tackle, what's the kid out of Oregon? But that kid that's playing nose tackle for them, he's like 3-3. They run like a 4-3 type, defense.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Why can't I remember his name?
You know
I liked him too coming up.
Yeah. But that kid. But if you think about that, they were getting gashed, and you have to be able to.
Vita Veda, yeah.
Vita Veda just popped. Yeah, Vita Veda. Vita Veda, he out of Washington. I'll take that back. He went to Washington. But if you look at that kid, they don't run like a 3-4, but they have to take Vita Veda off the field in certain situations because you can't. He's not an every down guy. So, and if you look at Alulu, because people say Talon Alulu was like big. Talon Alulu is 6'4", 304. That's what they like now. That's what Pittsburgh likes. They like their nose. They want their nose tackles now to be able to rush the passer. They want to be able to take on the block and rush the passer. So your traditional guy, which would be like Casey Hampton or Jordan Davis, he would be Casey Hampton in this scenario. Mm-hmm. Those guys are 2-down players. If they're in a 3-4, they can be in the game. If they get into any nickel type of stuff, he can't be on the field because because he's not versatile enough. So it's more like the players that you would draft now. Steelers look for guys that can do both. So they want somebody like the kid out of Alabama that's playing defensive tackle for them. I think his name is Phil Darian. He was getting all in. He was making a lot of plays in the game. There's another kid out of Georgia. The other guy, the guy that's playing next to Jordan Davis, he's more of a Pittsburgh Steelers type guy. I think he's like 305 or something like that. They like those guys.
Your boy mocked him to us.
Who?
Bucky Brooks.
Oh, you did?
Does any of his players that he mocked ever come to Pittsburgh? Has it happened?
No, him and who always gets us wrong? And it's so funny. Anytime I see Mel Kiper's mocks or I see Bucky Brooks mocks and the player that they mock to the Steelers, I know the Steelers not going to draft him. Like every time I see it, I say, oh yeah, they're not. He's not going. Because Mel Kiper has us getting like, I'm like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's because he's a Ravens fan or whatever, but every time I see it, I'm like, oh, they're not coming. It's just not going to happen. So,
yeah.
It's, to me, it's just kind of more like, when you look at that position, I think the Steelers will draft somebody, but I think Montravius Adams was a surprise. So now you have somebody that you can re-sign, hopefully, and he'll be back in the mix. And as Sim said, he is fast. He's a fast, nose tackle type.
Yeah, that dude be moving, man.
He'd be moving. So you get you another guy like that. You know what I mean? And because in my mind, I'm thinking I don't even know if Tua comes back. So I have to think like he's not. That's how I have to think, like he's not going to be back. So, yeah, I would. Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, but I mean, going to the 4-3, I don't.
Yeah, and the 4-6 too. I mean, they would run it very limitless amount, or limitedly, I guess you would say. They wouldn't. I mean, think about the type of offenses you face.
Yeah, right.
When would you really just line up in a 4-6? I mean, we can implement it, but not where it would be like a primary type of defense. Ain't nobody running no bear defense not against Kansas City.
not against Cincinnati.
No, Buffalo,
Cincinnati now.
Cincinnati.
I mean, I think more teams are running now.
You might could pull it off against the Ravens though, maybe.
And Cleveland.
Yeah, but Buffalo, Cincy, Kansas City. I mean, it's a bunch of teams. I'm just Packers. I mean,
Packers. Yeah.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of the teams you wouldn't. I mean, you can't. Dang. I mean, the Chargers. You can't even do it against the Chargers.
Can't do it against the Chargers.
Matter of fact, you can't do it against the Raiders. I'm just going by teams in the AFC. I'm not even going to the NFC. I'm just sticking in our conference. Raiders, Chargers, Chiefs. You just named 3.
You might be able to pull it up maybe against the Titans. But that's still dangerous.
You're right.
Because you leaving dudes on the island.
Right. Exactly. And I don't know. Look, I like the killer Witherspoon. I like
AJ Brown gonna go crazy.
AJ Brown, I do not want that. I do not want to see that. I mean, Julio was done to me, but AJ, nah. He's just getting into his prime. I mean, he's just getting it. Yeah.
But yeah, man. Yeah, I guess that's all we got, guys, man. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have quite a few more SteelTables here in the off season because there'll be stuff to talk about that is better to discuss, with someone else. But ladies, Debbie and Lanisha, I know y'all in here. Hit me up. I'm ready for you lovely ladies, man, to come on soon and get another episode with you all here in the off season. What I'm gonna start doing, just to let everybody know, I'm gonna try to do these little, pop-up videos here and there just to keep some content going. Like I was gonna do the Tomlin stuff and all of that, but once it got closer to Tuesday, I said, nah, we'll just wait for all that, for the SteelTable for that. But we're gonna keep it going. Obviously, again, we're not gonna have a pregame or postgame anymore, but I'm gonna try to do a couple little pop-up things at least to just keep some content out there. Any little news that I see that, some of you guys have said, hey, I come to you to see what's going on. So maybe I'll just report on a couple little things like that. We'll see. But outside of that, guys, we're going to run. I got to go help little man before he go to bed. So I got to get off here. But hope you guys enjoyed the show. Of course, we'll definitely be back next week. Talking about whatever it is to talk about. Maybe some Senior Bowl stuff. Well, actually, maybe we'll do another SteelTable once we have been able to see what guys
Senior
really
Bowl.
did at the Senior Bowl. I don't know if we'll know everything by next Tuesday, but we'll see. But outside of that, guys, really quick. Oops, y'all can't see it because it's hidden. Let me see. Nope, I don't think y'all can see it. Hold on. Y'all should be able to see it though. Nope. Oh well. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you are subscribed. That way you know when videos are up and running. And other thing I would ask you guys to do, if you like the video, make sure you hit the like button. If you dislike it, go ahead and hit the dislike button as well. But other than that, you will definitely see me on next Tuesday. Perhaps you might hear from me later this week if there's anything to talk about really quick. And yeah, we thank you guys for coming through, man. Like always, stay safe. God bless. Good night. And we thank you for tuning in to Terrible Towel Tuesday. Peace.